The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen.
Great. Thank you, Kelsey, and good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're calling in from today. My name is Sebastian Zavala, like Kelsey said, and you're here today to learn about the Immigration Advocates Network and our project called Immi. Here's my contact information. These slides will be available later on. I've been the program manager for Immi since our program launched in November of 2016. I've been with the Immigration Advocates Network now for about 3 years this May. Before that, I was the Director of Legal Services for many years for Catholic Charities of the East Bay and the International Institute of the Bay Area in San Francisco. So my background's in immigration law and community services and community outreach. In the last 3 years, I've really been focusing more on how do we increase access to justice by using different technology to help people who don't have access to attorneys. Just a little bit about the Immigration Advocates Network. If you haven't heard about us yet, we're a national network of immigration rights organizations. We're a nonprofit, and we share and create resources and make these resources easily accessible online for that mission I talked about earlier of increasing access to justice for immigrants. Some of our other projects are citizenshipworks.org, which is a free and confidential way to apply for citizenship and find legal help. We have the Amigo app, which provides updates on immigration news and resources, and immigrationadvocates.org, which is a site that has resources for nonprofits and pro bono attorneys. It also contains guides to immigration law and benefits, a calendar of upcoming trainings, and a job board. So today we're going to talk about Immi, which is our project. And our real goal with Immi was to empower every community. When we look at the United States and our population, there's no real way to kind of fully count the undocumented communities we have in the country. And people come in many, many different ways, so it's hard to even categorize all these people we're talking about, except under the umbrella term of undocumented or people without legal status. However, in this group of people who don't have legal status right now, what we've seen through different community clinics, different research and different studies is about 1 in 10 of people who are undocumented right now actually qualify for immigration relief without actually knowing it. Now, this is huge when you think about there's families where you have people with legal status and without legal status. And once one person gains that legal status, it can actually lead to other people gaining it as well in their family. So when we talk about legal status, we also talk about how it builds communities up, how just having that knowledge about what the next steps are to take in someone's case can really change someone's lives, can take them from living in the shadows to living with the benefits that most people take for granted, like a driver's license in some states, like access to in-state tuition, access to normal public benefits, access to a work permit to actually work legally in the country. So there's a lot of things that go along with legal status. In addition to empowering people, or to empower people, we thought, what are the kind of steps we can take to do that? And we decided that we could provide quality, trustworthy, plain language legal information. This is not written for attorneys, it's written for people who are at that plain language reading level, which is commonly defined as between 5th and 6th grade reading level, an experience where they can go online and actually get information about immigration law. We also wanted to help people be informed consumers of legal services and avoid fraud. In many of our communities, there are people who prey on immigrants' fears and anxieties, and they'll go out there and do legal work without actually having the correct license, not being attorneys or not being accredited representatives, or they'll go out there and just lie to people. They'll blatantly make up types of relief and take people for thousands of dollars. So we want to help people avoid that by becoming informed, understanding users of these different legal services that are out there. We also want to help immigrants understand the rights and legal options. And this is something that was one of our main focuses back in 2016. And we launched right after the elections, There's a lot going on in immigration law in 2016. And we were trying to get our tool out at a time where it would help the most people possible. But since that period of time, since the elections, we've seen high levels of fear and anxiety in communities based on these new tactics, these really aggressive government tactics aimed to intimidate and strike fear into many families. And we really see that one of the best approaches to helping people combat this kind of big detention, deportation, industrial complex is to set up systems in which they can understand their rights and exercise those rights in different situations. And I'll talk more about how we do that with our Know Your Rights cards as well. We also wanted to leverage limited resources that are out there for community education and screening. I know some of you are calling in from different parts of New York State where you may not have the same concentration of services that you have in New York City. And then even in New York City, you may have areas where there are, every block you can't walk a block without hitting a legal service provider. In other parts, there may not be anyone for miles to help any people. And then many times the office is trying to do this work. The best offices are swamped. It takes a long time to get people in the door. The community education workshops can be packed. So we wanted to give a tool also for those providers to kind of do more in the community. We're looking to connect people to nonprofit immigration legal services because we really do believe in the nonprofit model of legal service provision. Almost all these organizations work for free or low cost, and there really is a good resource that some people just may not know about or understand being in their areas. And finally, we wanted to help clients be ready to work with lawyers and Board of Immigration Appeal representatives, which are now actually called Department of Justice representatives. So to do this, we decided on building a website. The website is here on your screen. If you have another window open, or if you want to just kind of look along, I'm going to start a demo here pretty soon, but you're welcome to also go to the site now if you'd like. And if your computer screen is taken up by this presentation, it also looks really nice on a phone. It's mobile responsive. But the website is www.immi.org. There's no app to download, nothing to sign up for. You just go to the website on a computer, a phone, or a tablet, and you can access all of our resources that we have there. There's 4 main tools on Immi, and one is really new and we're really excited about it. The rest have been around a little while. We're still incredibly excited about them, and they're still helping a lot of people too. The main tool on Immi is a screening tool we have, and I've included the links here, so when you come back to these slides, you can easily find these different parts. We have a legal help center, which is a legal services directory of over 900 nonprofits providing free and low-cost services in the United States. We have a learning center, which has a set of articles on topics from how to get good legal help to understanding what temporary protective status is. So you can get a kind of wide range of understanding of what the immigration benefits are and also learn more about what immigration policy and enforcement is right now too. And it's really practical information as well. And our newest section, which is the Make a Plan tool, which I'll be talking about, which helps families create emergency preparedness plans in case they do end up with a family member in detention or a deportation. The last feature, it's not really a feature, but it's built into our website, is a help button we have. With this help button, which shows up on any one of our pages, you can go ahead and ask questions directly to our team. So I'm just jumping here to the website. And I just want to show you our help button here. And once this page loads up, we'll see in the lower left-hand corner, there's this way you can always contact us with any questions you have. Our team, we're not a legal, we don't provide legal advice. We're not taking any cases. Our goal is to help people navigate the site and make the site work better for people. So if you have a question about how a certain feature is working or something doesn't look right to you, this is a great way to get a hold of us as well. But it's also a place you can refer people you're working with if they have a question about what they're working on. So the first section we're going to look at here is the interview itself. It's under Understand Your Options. And before I jump into it, I just want to explain a little bit about how this interview works. The interview itself was designed by in a collaboration with attorneys from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, which is known as a national nonprofit center of expertise of immigration law and advocacy. These are the top attorneys that are also writing the books other attorneys are reading on immigration law when they're trying to learn it. They helped us develop the set of questions that's going to look at immigration options. It's going to look at based on people's immigration history, based on their family, based on certain things that may have happened in their lives. And it's also going to look at possible risks people have in applying as well. In immigration law, there's very few ways you can qualify, and there's a multitude of ways you can actually be found inadmissible for those same types of relief. So it's a complicated area of law, and what the interview is doing is giving people a personalized list of options they may have based on how they're going to answer the questions in this interview process. As people answer certain questions, the next set of questions are going to change dynamically. So there's logic programmed into the interview to make sure we investigate every possible path of relief in the interview itself. Now, just saying that, the interview is not looking at every type of relief that there is out there. For example, if someone is not inside of the United States, the interview is not going to work for them because our main focus are people in the US who have these options. Furthermore, applying to come into the United States from outside of the US is a different process, and there's many times there's different requirements that you have to meet to do that process. So the focus is people inside of the United States. The second focus is that a person cannot currently be in deportation proceedings or have a case in immigration court. Those two are the same thing, deportation proceedings and immigration court. The challenge there is that once someone is actually in court and they have to defend themselves in front of a judge, the types of benefits people can actually ask for change. So do the standards to apply for those benefits, and so do the standards for the waivers that goes with those benefits as well. So our approach is that if someone has a case in deportation proceedings, our system is going to try to get them directly to an attorney to talk to right away, because they could have one day to prepare their case, they could have 2 years until their court date. We just want to make sure they talk to an attorney as soon as possible to make sure that they have the best chance of preparing the strongest case they have in front of a judge. Now, there are a lot of areas though that Immi is going to cover for people, and these are the main ways people apply to change their status to resident in the United States. These are family-based immigration options when you apply through an immediate family member, a spouse, brother or sister, or a child in certain situations. There are humanitarian options. These include asylum for people that have a well-founded fear of persecution in the country they're from. Temporary protective status, which we put here in red, because we've seen the last couple of months that several countries have actually lost their temporary protective status designation, which means that people are no longer able to apply for those renewals of these 2-year work permits they were getting, actually 18-month work permits they were getting. So we have updated information on TPS, which varies for the countries that are still on that list. Another option people have, actually only children have, is a special immigrant juvenile status, which are for certain children who come into the country that have been abused, abandoned, or neglected by either or both parents. The system's also going to look for U or T visas, which are special visas for victims of crime or trafficking. This also includes people who may have been exploited in the workplace as well. There's VAWA, which stands for the Violence Against Women's Act, which is for abused family members of citizens and green card holders. We've updated the DACA information in there, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And if you've been following this, you've seen that this has changed quite a bit in the last year. There was one point where it was gone, then it was back, and then it was gone again, and now it's partially back due to a court mandate. But we're constantly updating our information in there, and we're constantly updating the logic in the interview as well to reflect the current accepted practices in DACA. And finally, the interview is going to look at the common risks people have when applying for immigration benefits, which are just as important as the ways you may actually qualify. Because what's going to get people in trouble a lot of the time isn't the fact that they have a brother who's US citizen. It's going to be the fact that they have this kind of ground of inadmissibility or ground of deportability that's not going to let the government approve their application. And many times when people get scammed, it's because the notarios or the unscrupulous attorneys are not looking at the risks of applying. So we put those risks just as prominently in our results pages as we do the benefits, so people can understand exactly what the possible risks are when they apply. Now, people are going to put a lot of information into Immi. They're going to be putting information about if they're married, if they have children, if they've been a victim of a crime, if they have fear of going to their home country. There's a lot of sensitive information that goes in. To protect people's privacy, we collect all the answers anonymously. We never ask for a person's name. We never ask for their address. We never ask for their family members' names or anything else that could identify them or where they live. It's important that we just let people know this because we're a nonprofit. We don't sell this information to anyone whatsoever. Our main goal on doing this is to give people a free online resource they can use to find out possible options they have. Okay, well, before I jump to the end, let's go ahead and look at the interview itself a little bit here. So from the main website page, from the home page, to get to the interview itself, you can use either the Understand Your Options link here at the top or the link here in the middle of the page. The interview and the entire website is available in English and Spanish, and you can switch back and forth by using this toggle at the top of the page. If you're on your computer at home, feel free to move through this too and just try a couple scenarios out as I walk through a couple scenarios in these first couple pages here. The first thing we do is explain to people that this is not legal advice. This is a tool to help them understand their options they have. This is something that people can do on their own or with the help of a volunteer. They could do this in a private computer setting is probably best, or on their cell phones, which can be done at any point in time. It's going to save as you go along, but if you log out, you're going to have to start over again because we're not actually taking any people's account information to save the information on our side. Now, if I'm unfamiliar with the term, if I don't know what an immigration court case is, for example, I can click on that word and I can see an article that will explain more about what immigration court removal proceedings are. By opening up this link, I can then look at a much longer article explaining to me what immigration court removal proceedings are to see if I may actually be in court. The same thing here, if I don't know what immigration status is, I can click on the word and I can get a link explaining the definition of immigration status in plain language. As I go through these first couple screens, the interview is going to ask me general information about when I was born and what my immigration history is. The interview itself has over 500 questions programmed into it because you're looking for over 10 types of relief. However, when a person goes through the interview, because this changes dynamically for each person, no one's ever going to answer all of those questions. In fact, most people only answer about 80 questions when they take the interview. The questions are short and almost every question is a yes or no question, except for that date of birth, country of origin, and there may be one or two other fields that you're asked to fill in. There's alerts built in too to let you know that if you have family members who are in the US as well and they don't have status, they could also take this on their own. Because this gives people a personalized snapshot, the benefits for two siblings may actually be different when you look at their unique histories. And you see, if I change my answer to yes, I would get questions about spouses here. Whereas if I answer no, it'll take me straight to the next section, which is on grandparents. We also have these little built-in explanations of certain questions. Some people may not know why we're asking a certain question. They may not understand that if you have a grandparent who's a US citizen, you may have actually acquired citizenship and not knowing it. So we have these little whys that's important built in when we can to let people to know why we're asking them certain questions, and we're not just prying for whatever reason. Every question in here is pertinent to understanding what possible benefits and risks people have in their immigration pathway. These questions about harm and abuse, these are asking basically about possible asylum claims or U visa claims for being a victim of domestic violence or certain types of crimes. As you can see, these questions are kind of sensitive, so I wouldn't recommend using this this interview in like a public setting or trying to have someone do this in front of a classroom or anything like that, because it is very personal, it's very private. They could work with a volunteer, like a trusted volunteer, on these issues, on these questions, or they can work on their phone or in a private setting. Okay, and we can see some of these questions, they continue. We're going to ask about being removed or departed from the United States, if I've had a case in court, if I've missed a court date. So you can see these questions are similar, but we're asking about slightly different things to get at the same point about if there's possibly been an immigration court case. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quick. But if you have any questions at all about the screening, go ahead and put them in the box now. I'm going to jump in and show you 3 more features. So I want to make sure that you don't lose your question or train of thought when it comes to the screening tool.
Sebastian, as you're going through this, I'm going to ask a quick question. Are there any plans to add more than English and Spanish?
At this point in time, there's not. That's a question I get a lot. We'd really like to. It's just it's a lot of content to translate, and we just haven't had the opportunity to put it in another language yet. All right. So the interview goes on. Like I said, people usually answer about 80 questions or so. It can take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how fast someone can read and how much information they just know about their family and their own history off the top of their head. Some people may have to stop and go back and start over. That's completely fine. However, people want to use the screening tool, that's up to them. Today we've had over 40,000 people use the interview tool, and about 90,000 people have found some sort of good relief through it, which is really exciting to us. Sorry, 9,000. I may have said 90,000. This is what a results page looks like. After going through the interview, you answer the final section is going to ask you about possible risks you have in applying, if you've ever been affiliated with the gang, or if you've ever voted when you shouldn't have voted, like lying to a government official. There's about, I think, 80 different ways based on the Immigration Nationality Act that you can be kicked out. And we go through every single possible option to make sure we look at all the risks there. And then we give you this results page. This is the one place in the interview where you can put and one place in Immi, in fact, where you can put your email or phone number in. What this does is this sends you this link to the results so you can go back to it. And this could be sent to your email address or your phone number. Now, we take this information for the mailing list. We only collect the information that's the phone number or the email address. We never connect in our database. We never connect the information that people submit here in this box with these results at all. So we have no way of knowing in our system whatsoever which user who's on our list triggered any results, if they even triggered results at all. In that way, we protect people's information in one more way from their results here. So there's no way you can go back and link those two together. But let's look at these results cards now. So what that page shows me is that I qualify for possible types of relief. by clicking on the card with the name of the relief on it, I can get this detailed view of ways I might be eligible, possible problems I'll have in applying for this relief, and any incomplete information that I have. I can also see the benefits of a U visa very clearly, and I have a little description on what a U visa is. Going further down, we're going to see in green the reasons I might qualify. And just as important, if not more important in some cases, the possible risks I may have as well. Things that I should talk to a legal advocate about before applying. And in this example, there's also missing information that I had, where I answered, I don't know, to the question of if the crime was investigated. In all our results pages, we offer next steps. We want to help people move forward in whatever their situation is. So we always recommend people review the results. If they're not sure about an answer and to get more information, to take the interview again, to go to the Learning Center, to look up our articles and understand their options better, to organize any important documents they have, to look for the free forms at uscis.gov. A lot of sites are charging for these free forms, so we try to point people in the right direction if they're actually ready to fill out forms and apply. And if they need any legal help, they can use our legal help search, which is built in right here. From here, they can search our directory, and they can find organizations nearby that will be providing legal services for them in their area. So that's a screening tool. And you have some sample shots in your slides here too. You can see the results page. And now I want to move on to the Learning Center. So in addition to the screening tool, we have a whole set of articles, a whole knowledge base built in to help people understand their rights, help them find good legal help them understand the different types of immigration status and benefits that are out there. We have a section which includes articles on any updates in enforcement, any updates on any sort of news or policies that are going to affect immigration benefits, and a glossary built in English and Spanish. So let me just jump over to that. And to get to the Learning Center from any page in Immi, just go ahead and click on the link at the top of the page that says Learning Center. This is also in English and Spanish. One of the features I like here is that we have the glossary in English and Spanish as well. So if you're doing any translation or interpretation and you get to these kind of trickier terms, you can also look at how you would say those terms in Spanish. You notice even with fluent Spanish speakers, there's certain terms we never use in Spanish, like acquired citizenship or things like that. So these are good ways to see how you would say that in Spanish. Let me switch back to the English version here. And I'm just going to show you one of our sections here, which is the Know Your Rights section. Here we have articles that are looking at what people can do to prepare for raid or an arrest, how to get good legal help, as well as articles giving you updates in immigration law and benefits going on right now. So this is a good section to get familiar with if you're just want to know more about these different topics. You want to know the kind of best practices around being prepared for an raid or an arrest. It's all right here. These are also nice because you can print them out. There's a print version of these. And if you have an information table or desk and you want to make this available, you could also have the print copies available there for people too. I've done community workshops before, Know Your Rights workshops, where I actually use this website as almost the basis for the entire presentation, and use these handouts as well to help people understand these different issues. In addition, we have articles updating people on what's happening right now with things like DACA and TPS. So this was written by our staff attorneys. It was updated in January when the last big change happened in DACA renewals, If anything changes it again, we'll go back in and update the article again to make sure it's completely up to date. I mentioned we had a legal services directory in Immi. That's under this Find Legal Help button here. You saw how I search from the bottom of the results page for U-Visa providers. If I search over here, I can also search for any providers in my area who may have legal services available. I can then find out more details about them. I can see what languages they speak. I can see a little bit of their mission statement, and they have access to contact information here too. If someone's looking to help someone in a detention center, we have another search built in here as well, which is a detention center search. Here you can choose your state and facility, and you can see which service providers have people available to help those detained in these facilities. All these organizations in our database are 501c3 nonprofits. They either have a licensed attorney with immigration expertise or Department of Justice accredited representative, or both in some cases. And these DOJ representatives, they're actually allowed to represent people in limited proceedings in immigration offices for certain petitions. So this is a program that allows people who are non-attorneys to help people in immigration purposes only. And there's over 900 organizations in our database. We're always adding more, and we update this each year. Each year, it basically takes almost a full-time volunteer contacting all these organizations to update their information and make sure it's accurate and up to date. All right, finally, I'm going to jump to our last section here, which is our Make a Plan tool. So going back to the slides, I included some slides so you can see the details of the Learning Center, different features of social sharing, printing, and our help button. Looked at the directory. So Make a Plan was launched just at the beginning of April. We wanted to create an emergency planning tool to help people protect themselves and their families in case of arrest, detention, or deportation. What this tool does is provides information and assistance to help people make decisions for themselves and their family, make decisions for possible childcare or other dependents they have to worry about. It helps people manage their property, debt, and accounts, which is something that people may not even be thinking about at the time. Explore their immigration options and understand their rights a bit better. There's been so much fear and just anxiety in immigration communities, rightly so because of the increased appearance of raids, as well as just the diminishing options available for many people. I did mention 1 in 10 people who are undocumented may qualify for relief. The flip side of that is 9 in 10 of those people are not going to have a pathway to legal status at this given our current set of laws and policies. So to help those people just sleep better at night, just to relieve whatever kind of anxiety we can, we're hoping to do that by having this plan in place, emergency plans in place, that maybe they can sleep comfortably knowing that if something does happen to them, there's at least some sort of plan or some sort of checklist in place that their family can use and rely on. I'd say it's somewhere between how we in California have to plan for earthquakes at any given time, and how also when you have loved ones who are getting older, you have to look at how you're gonna plan for their assets in case they do pass. So this plan looks at kind of a couple aspects, and it helps people kind of get that checklist so they can understand what they should do in the case of an emergency situation. It's really simple to use. It's really short. It only takes about 2 or 3 minutes. We could run through it together. It's also private, just like the interview itself, the immigration interview. The Make a Plan part of our website is not taking down your name, your address, your phone number, anything like that. There is a way you can send yourselves the results, but those results, just like our other results, are not going to be connected to that phone number, email address you put in there. It is bilingual in English and Spanish, and yeah, this is not an actual legal instrument. This is not like creating a will or power of an attorney document. There's nothing to notarize here. What it is that it's a checklist that's going to cover many important points that you should be looking at in case something does happen to you or a family member, and something you can kind of keep in a safe place and share with people in case they need to access it. But it's not an actual legal document. I just want to stress that. All right, and this page, I just show you the link to get there in English or Spanish, and let's go ahead and check it out. Like I said, this is a very short process here. The first thing you're doing is just choosing what you want to make a plan for. Is it your family? Is it your property? Are there bills and debts you're worried about? I just checked all three of them here. If I say I have children, it's going to ask me more questions about my children. And if I have questions for the interview itself, for example, who can take care of my child, we have a little bit of information here on that. This is, I think, a point where librarians and libraries can be a great resource in providing the state requirements or the county level requirements or even the school district requirements needed to pick a child up at school, because those vary so much, school district to school district, state to state. But this is a good place to kind of start that conversation and then provide additional resources too. So depending on the different assets or different things you may have, there's going to be different sets of questions. And let's just say I don't have a house, but I have a car, a bank account, and a cell phone. Just going to figure out what I want to do with these different things. And I may not be sure, and that's okay at this point. If I'm not sure what I want to do with my car, I can just mark not sure. My bank accounts, let's say I'm done with Bank of America. No thank you, goodbye to my monthly fee. I want to close that if anything happens to me. And with my cell phone, it's a pay-as-you-go phone, so I'm not too worried about that. It's going to look at bills and debts as well. This is a section where people may not even be thinking about what they do in case of insurance or unpaid wages or other bills. And then depending on my types of insurance, there's going to be other questions it's going to ask me too. And let's say I want to continue it, and maybe I want to cancel, or I'm not sure what I want to do with this other insurance I have. And just like that, it's finished. So this is a very short interview. This is something that people can take care of in a couple minutes, and it could give them information that could really make a difficult situation a lot easier for them in the future and relieve that stress they have on a daily basis of what they do with their kids or what they do about property or the car they may have. The way these results pages are organized is they go by topic, and it's almost like a checklist. These are things you should be looking for if you have a child under 18 years old. You need to talk to them about this plan. You need to make sure they know who'll meet them after school. Make sure they have a list of important numbers, and you have the number list for each child. And then, to put money aside. They may need put money aside. Your child may need for other things. And then things you should do if you have a caregiver, what they should have access to, and who they need to be talking to as well. We list some good general resources about what to do with property and accounts too. And bills and debts for any topic you mentioned, you'll have this information here. Like our other interview, you can send yourself the results through email or through a text. And these results will not be connected to your account in any way. We list a few next steps here, and then we link to our legal services directory in case they do have an immigration question after going through this. So what's nice about all these tools on Immi is really that you don't have to be an immigration expert or pretend you're one, or look through a bunch of pages trying to find answers, looking at forums or looking at the government website, or trying to read official memoranda that don't really make sense and refer to different sections of the law. Immi is a real comprehensive service center that now anyone can access to either read articles, get personalized results, make a family emergency plan, or connect with local free and low-cost legal service providers. Okay, you see our make a plan results. You can always look at that in your slides. So those were the 4 features I wanted to show you on Immi. We have the immigration screening tool, we have the legal services directory, the learning center, the make a plan section, and now I want to move the discussion in the next couple minutes here and talk more about how you can use this, to share with people in the work you do, and just kind of get it out there more if you think this is something you want to work with. So Immi is available on any device. It's free to use just by going to any browser. What we're asking our partners to do, or people that want to work with us, is really kind of share the message that Immi is out there and it's safe to use. We see librarians as a huge potential for us for partnerships, because you really are trusted in the communities you work in. And you have almost some similarities to people who do like community organizing and healthcare work, in that you're trying to create stronger communities, I think, through literacy and providing information. This is a great tool to provide because it's a strong self-help tool that can help people as coming from a reputable partner, the Immigration Advocates Network, and we have the best interests of the communities we work with in mind. So we ask people, if you feel comfortable doing it, after this webinar, there'll be an email that goes out, and I'll have a link in there with some social media assets and different pictures you could share, post on your page, or go to our page on Facebook and like us or follow us there. There's also options to add a link to immi.org on your website, and I'll show you an example of what that looks like. You can order and share Know Your Rights cards, which I'll show you as well, which can be put at your information desk, or if you're doing any kind of community outreach, they're a great thing to bring along with you. And just kind of spread the word about Immi. We're a national organization, but we're also a very small team. And we always need any help we can get about just spreading the word. And most people find out about us through friends and family. So it'd be great to have that kind of support from you guys too. And really, I just want to stress that everyone can make a difference here. There isn't any kind of small help. That every little bit counts, whether it's hosting a Know Your Rights workshop, or it's just forwarding an email, or it's just handing a card to someone, or just putting that stack of cards, Know Your Rights cards, on your counter to people to get. Figure out what works for you to be part of that solution, and go for it. Empower yourself and empower your communities to really make a change. So here are some examples of what some partners have posted before on different social media channels, on Immi, on our Know Your Rights campaigns. We have different images available that you can put up and share. Some people just kind of come up with their own taglines and put those in there as well. We welcome that. And yeah, if you have any ideas, if you want to do a kind of like an awareness month around something and you want to involve us in that too, we're more than welcome to get involved in any campaigns that you have going on. I also have an example here from the Los Angeles Public Library, which put Immi on their New Americans landing page. So inside of their library system, they have this resource page set up for New Americans, and they just included a link here on the side of the page. We thought that was really great, and it's a good way just to show people coming to your branches or people going to your web portals that you think this is a trusted source and it's something good out there. These are the Know Your Rights cards I referred to earlier. To date, we've shipped 1,000 orders, and we've shipped 360,000 cards. across the country to, I think, almost every state. I may be missing one or two in the south or the north, but pretty much we've sent these cards to community organizations, high schools, government agencies, many libraries, and we have an English card and a Spanish card. There's a lot of different Know Your Rights cards out there right now. Some really great ones too. The red card's, of course, like a classic one. What makes this one different and unique, I think, is that it has a spot here on the back of on the back page, where you can actually put in a phone number of an attorney that you can contact or call. There are a lot of rapid response networks set up that make these cards. However, in a lot of counties we work in too, those networks haven't been set up. So it's going to come down to having the number of a local attorney or someone they can trust on this card to help people. And we've actually gotten stories back that these cards work. We've gotten a couple different stories back from partners about people who have been in houses when raids have been occurring and have used these cards and followed the directions on the cards and have avoided detention, which is just incredible to think that people have like the kind of courage at that moment to exercise their rights. But it's great, and we feel so honored to be part of those people's stories and those lives, and just being able to know that we're keeping people, we're letting people exercise their rights that they have. So these cards are free to order. They're sent out of our San Francisco office. We usually process orders within a week. To order them, just go to immi.org/order, and you'll see the order form will come up. Our typical order is 150 English and 150 Spanish. However, if you want more than that, go ahead and just send an email like the form's going to ask you to. And we've shipped, I think, up to 3,000 cards to some different systems in the past. To the city of Dallas, and I think to Queens Public Library, we shipped, I think, about 6,000 or 7,000 as well. But yeah, keep the orders coming. We have plenty of cards to give out, and we're finding that people really like the cards and information they have on them. And then if you have any kind of trainings coming up that you want us to speak on, if you like the information you saw today and you would like me to kind of maybe present to your people who work in your immigration corner, or maybe you have other staff that that are just, you want them to know more about the screening tool or the directory, I'm always open to scheduling webinars and other sort of training calls with people and just kind of walking them through our system, showing them how it works. Our email is right there for our training requests, info@immi.org. And we also have one more resource too that came up that we put together last summer. I have to add it to the slides later. But we also have a page here with ALA on a training we did before. It's on demand. There's some good resources too. And it talks more about some possible options for starting immigration services in your library itself. We have options from Kansas City, and we have a couple other resources too for setting up citizenship preparation classes and labs. So yeah, I think I've talked enough. I'd love to hear some questions if you guys have any out there.
Thank you, Sebastian. We do have a couple in the queue. Earlier, I know that you mentioned that when people log out, they have to start the interview process over again. So does this mean that that information that they've already entered isn't saved?
Yes, that's correct. Nothing is saved until they get to the results.
So then, without it being saved, is that how you guys ensure that the information can't be accessed by a third-party organization, or is there also some like encryption that's involved, or?
Yeah, so we have an IT team. We're part of Pro Bono Net, the same organization that does software development for many of the law help portals, disaster legal aid efforts. So we're always looking at the newest security measures to make sure that our systems are safe. We have our own secure servers that are protected by an IT team of engineers working on that part of it. In the interview itself, the way it works is that after each page you go through, you're going to see a little icon spin. So it's kind of tracking the information as you go through it. But unless you get to the very end, it's not going to give you a link showing you the results that you have there.
Great. And I know you mentioned ordering the cards and doing community outreach and different types of programs, and that you also you don't recommend that it's taken on a public computer. Can you think of any other role that libraries can have besides just promoting the program?
Yeah. So I think on the computer part of it, I think it's okay if the computer is open to the public, but it needs to have some sort of privacy around it, if that makes sense. So if you have like a part of your library where you have like a citizenship information kiosk and a computer is there and it has a little bit of walls around it, that may be okay. But a computer lab with people sitting next to you, checking their like Instagram or something, or Facebook or something crazy like that, you wouldn't want to be like next to them, asking people questions about, possibly being a victim of domestic violence. It's a very sensitive topic. But yeah, other ways the libraries can help too, is having the cards at the counter, just getting the cards out into the community, and then also adding a link to your portal if you have any sort of page that talks about New Americans or citizenship programs, having some sort of link on that page too. We can help you with any kind of text you may want, or if you want an image from us, we can get you that too.
Great, and I'll give everyone just a couple more minutes to get their last minute questions in. And Sebastian, I just want to thank you again for all of this information. And if you have anything else you want to add before we call it a day, feel free to do so.
Great, no, I just really appreciate y'all being on this call and just letting me explain more about this program. I know it was a lot of information, so if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me and I can recap anything or explain anything else further.
Great. We don't seem to have any more questions coming in, so I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this afternoon. And like Sebastian said, if anyone has questions after this is over, feel free to reach out. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you.